versus Knitting.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to, I guess this is technically episode 3 of Man versus Knitting. It's been a while, and I apologize, but I'll explain everything at the end in my story. But as we start every episode with history, or his story, I want to bring you a very special friend of mine, Frank.ep, who is been teaching all over the country, and I had to go to him. So when I was at the DFW Fiberfest, I got to speak with him for a few minutes in between his classes, and I'd love to bring that conversation to you now because he's really funny. I've always found him funny, and I think you might too. So if you're not familiar with Frank.ep, then I introduce you to him here, and I'll see you on the other side. So normally we have these interviews in my studio at my house, but because you have to go where the talent is, I've come to the talent. So we're here at the 2019 DFW Fiberfest, and I'm with my good friend Frank.ep.
Yeah, nice to see you.
Good to see you too. And we're going to have our interview here in my hotel room. So the background is a little different, but the concept is the same. Trying to get to know more male knitters in the world and try to build on the brand that we have. So thank you and welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm excited.
It is.
Yeah, it's been ages since I've seen you, so it's just nice to get to talk to you for one thing.
Well, you in your nice attire and me in my t-shirt and shorts.
Yeah,
really.
This is. I started dressing like this in part because I like pretty clothes. I like fun menswear. Also because like when you have a tie on, it really puts the students on their alert. I swear they behave better. And also then when somebody wants to do a selfie with you for Instagram, I have to make the most of what I've got. So this is my attempt to do that.
That's funny. Well, you heard it here first. Mm-hmm. I'm just kidding. So I know you, mm-hmm. but a lot of people don't, mm-hmm. Or people who might be watching this in the future. Mm-hmm. So tell us a little bit about how you got started as a knitter.
Okay, so I started knitting when I was a senior in college, but not in a... I enjoyed it, but I was not the kind of knitter that I am now. I wasn't an obsessed knitter. You wouldn't have found me. Actually, I don't think I even knew there was such a thing as a fiber festival. And then I was just a solitary knitter for a very long time because it was the 90s, and it's not that there wasn't internet, it's that I certainly didn't know how to connect with other knitters via the internet. So I knit alone. I even stopped knitting for a little while, and I came back around the time of the big boom when Stitch and Bitch was published. And I enjoyed it so much that that was around the same time I started a blog, and then people started reading my blog, and then a lot of people started reading my blog.
It's a pretty famous blog.
It's been on hiatus for a very long time while I try to figure out what to do with it if I want to start it up again. But ultimately, it led to a book deal with Interweave Knits, and for some reason, it led to people asking me to teach, which I don't know why. I don't know what in the blog, which was mostly just me being a smartass about knitting. And making occasional jokes led people to think I could teach this stuff, but now here I am.
And he's a very funny writer, so despite the fact that he's not really doing it, but the fact that you're not doing it, doesn't mean it's still live. People can still go.
It's still there, but
a lot of funny music.
Well, I'm still writing as much as I used to when I was writing the blog, but these days it's for other people. So now what I do within the world of knitting, it's really fun. I have a lot of strings to my bow, so I'm still doing a lot of writing. But it's, for example, I do every month for Mason-Dixon Knitting. I do a book review column about knitting and crochet and fiber books generally, which is lots of fun. And I write regularly for Makers Mercantile in Washington State for their shop blog, and I write and do cartoons every month for LionBrand, which is really enjoyable. Number one, because all they say for that job is, just write something interesting and draw a funny cartoon, and those are the parameters, and I get to do whatever I want to with that. And it's
life should be so easy.
Right. It's really it's fun to be associated with a legendary brand like LionBrand. I never ever thought that I would wind up doing this for a living. It's all happened by accident.
Well, I think it's great. And yeah, those Fridays with Franklin, if you don't do that, and I'll tag that in this, it's a lot of fun, especially when it comes to the mysteries. So you've got to be patient. Just wait for the next week, or maybe the week after that.
And part of that is just because it's almost unfolding in real time. That column was interesting because they said to me, so they're a shop that's run by a larger yarn company, and so of course their yarn selection is amazing, but they have lots of other things too, beautiful fabrics and buttons, and it's more or less play with what we sell and tell people about it. And the layer that I added to it with Fridays with Franklin, one of the joys, honestly, is that I said right in the first column, when stuff doesn't work, I will show you that it didn't work. It's really all about process. Like, I'm going to try doing this thing. Here's the goal that I have in mind.
Yeah, that's true.
And then the columns tend to unfold, or the projects unfold over multiple columns, because I'm not always a very bright person, and so sometimes things go very wrong, and so I go into a ditch and then I try to get out of the ditch. And I think there have been a couple of columns where I wind up with a finished object, but it's not perfect. And I wanted to start doing the column that way because honestly, I do a lot on social media, and I was sort of getting fatigue from, I heard somebody call it Instagram perfection, which really made sense to me. It's just one beautiful sunlit shot after another of a success. That's everything that the person has. It's perfect and it's finished and it came out just right. And I thought, I know too many knit and crochet designers to believe that that's actually what it's really like. It's messy behind the scenes.
Yeah, because I've taken a class from you before, and that's the one thing about classes is that when you go to them, you actually can learn the tips and tricks right there in that class. But when you're by yourself or you're learning off of a book or a video, you don't really get that. And that's partly what I'm doing with the knitting clinic part of my channel. I'm teaching them how to knit, but also the tips and tricks that go along with those.
Great
because
idea.
if you don't, it's not about perfection in the beginning, especially in the beginning. Because if you don't have an understanding of what to expect from mistakes, you're never going to have the confidence to go forward.
And I've started doing some weaving. I really enjoy it. And somebody said, well, you should teach rigid heddle classes. And I'm a long way from even thinking about teaching rigid heddle weaving because I have made probably at this point hundreds of mistakes in my weaving, but I still don't feel like I've made and solved enough mistakes in weaving to presume to try to teach somebody else. I mean, you have to mess up a lot, and it's one of the saddest things that I do see is I occasionally will encounter a student or just another knitter that I meet who has severely limited what they will allow themselves to do and try in knitting because they're afraid of messing it up. We can almost always pull it out. And I tell students right off the bat, if you take a class and at no point in the class do you feel just a little bit at sea or a little nervous or a little, then probably the class wasn't, it probably was too low a level for you. There should always be a little bit of discomfort in growth when you stretch yourself. And yes, don't be afraid of it, and so that's great that you're doing content that's going to help people smooth out the rough patches.
I hope so. That's the goal anyway. They'll let me know if I'm not doing it
right. You'll tell them, right? Lots of angry comments.
Yeah, please. I love those. It doesn't matter. So far, there hasn't been any, so that's been a good thing.
Oh, okay.
But there can always be one or two. At any rate, so the history now we have. You being someone who's been in the industry for a little while now, you've seen other guys. We've actually gone. If you'll recall, Franklin was one of the people that was at the Visionary Retreat from Cap 40. So we've done a male thing before.
Right.
But why do you think, or do you see a growth in guys who are knitting?
Oh, yeah. I mean, our numbers are definitely up. I mean, we're still very much in the minority. But, absolutely. I mean, it used to be very common for me to be at an event like this. I would be the only guy teacher, and I don't think that's been the case for years now, that I've been the only guy. There's usually quite a few of us represented.
That's good.
I'm seeing more guys in classes. I'm seeing more guys generally. And I have to say, one of the really happy things is that growth in the number of guys seems to be going along with a growth just in the diversity of the crowd I see at shows generally.
Oh.
Like the shows themselves have become a lot less homogenous in terms of just about everything. I mean, age, race, anything that I can think of, any way you might sort of categorize people. There's just much more of a mix. Not as much as I would like. There's tons of room for growth, a big need for growth, but more guys and just more people generally than the basic idea of what a knitter was when I first started going to shows like
Right.
this, and when we were at the Visionary Retreat, how many years ago?
It was a long
time ago. Yeah, definitely more guys in the field, and more guys just knitting, more guys just at the knitting table.
Yes. And more, the good thing about what you do is you teach a lot of history, and you teach a lot of technique.
Yeah.
And that's important, but at the same time, we need not teachers, but patterns that are devoted more to guys too. Because a lot of, and we've talked about this on this channel, a lot of the pattern support is geared towards the female. And that's great, but we need sweater designs too.
It's a tricky situation, because as a guy, that's what, occasionally. Now, I don't think of myself as much of a designer. I'm doing a lot of stuff with we can talk about my Dolores project if you want to talk about that, but we still are not enough of a buying public to, if you're going to publish independently, to justify the expense that goes into putting a pattern together. So it is a puzzle, and I wish there was more good stuff out there. But I sort of look at what I would be up against if I decided to do, even a leaflet of 5 patterns for men, and I just get sick to my stomach and go back to designing things for toy sheep. I don't have the guts, basically, and I'm the first person to admit it.
Well, it's not so much that. It's really about having those conversations and getting the industry to listen and getting people to say, and be brave enough to, or have the confidence with the numbers. So that's what we're trying to do here.
Yeah, absolutely.
So tell us about the Dolores project.
So
segue.
Okay, yeah, very good. Well done. So when I was blogging regularly, one of the things that was very unexpected is I wrote 2 little sketches about when I was learning to spin. I remember having the idea, I had ordered online from a fiber farm some spinning fiber, and I thought, well, with my luck, with mail order in the past, what's going to happen is, rather than sending me roving, they're going to send me a sheep. And then I thought, oh, that would be kind of funny. Wouldn't that be kind of funny? And the stereotype of the sheep is that it's this gentle animal, and that's, sort of like dumb, and no offense to any sheep who are watching. And I thought, that's not what I would get. I would get just the like nastiest acid tongue, horrible sheep. And I wrote a story about this happening to me, that this sheep shows up at my apartment. There's been a mix-up in shipping at the fiber farm, and I thought I would write 1 or 2 stories about Dolores, this sheep. And, people that were reading my blog really, really, really liked the character, and I really liked writing the story. So for a very long time, Dolores was written about in my blog. And when some things happened personally, where I decided I needed to set the blog aside for a while and take a break from it, people really missed Dolores. People were still asking. Ultimately, what has happened just in the past, we're coming up on a year of the launch of the project, I went to the people at Webs and said, this is the character, I want to bring her back, but one of the things that I want to do is I want to have a make-your-own Dolores. And so the end result is that with Webs, we have produced, they're all kits. So we have, you start off with the kit for a knit-your-own Dolores. that comes with her signature cat's eye sunglasses, so she's properly outfitted. And then every month we're issuing a new pattern kit for an outfit because her wardrobe
Now, I
is
didn't know that.
extensive. Yeah, and that really.
Oh, that's kind of fun.
And it's sort of it was kind of the key to the whole project for me because I am designing some of the outfits. Every other month, the outfit that comes out, I designed it, and I designed the doll. However, what I have been able to do is sucker my serious, like, respected designer friends into designing outfits for my doll, and they're enjoying it, which is fun. But it just still feels kind of like I Amy Herzog and Fiona Ellis and Patty Lyons, like people that are respected within the knitting design world, are also doing Dolores outfits, and they're doing such a beautiful job, and it's been such a kick to have them to be able to work with friends that way, and they have said she's challenging. I mean, Patty Lyons wrote an entire blog article about just her fittings with Dolores and how demanding she was.
Well, yeah. She's quite demanding in her numbers.
Well, and that's the thing is that it's up in the
shape.
multiples of thousands that we've sold. The doll kits are on back order right now as we're taping this because the demand has been. Yeah, and we're coming up on the anniversary, so we're going to be looking at doing some Dolores events and stuff like that. So.
Some of the Instagram followers I have, you see, like, where's Dolores? You've seen their Dolores, and that's funny.
Yeah, so it's been super enjoyable. In fact, I want to put together a gallery for the Web's website. There's actually a Dolores section now of the Web's website that I want to do up a gallery of user mods to their Dolores dolls because people are bringing them to class and think, well, I decided that I was going to change this, and I have seen some people have done her with a mohawk, dreadlocks. I've seen, it's a very, very, exactly. And somebody apologized at one point. I thought, no, this is the spirit of the thing. Like, take her and make her your own, So we're having a good time with that. And the funniest thing is the number of people who have said that they are now looking forward to the monthly pattern releases because they like to read my write-up of the pattern, what the story behind the outfit. And Webb's has been very nice.
They miss your writing.
Well, Dolores is not, she's a cartoon sheep, but she's not, unless you have really unusual children, like she's not she's not a Care Bear. So the stories can have kind of a racy edge to them, and Webb's has been so supportive.
There's product warning on the pattern. She is not a
sort of should be. Honestly. People say, I'm going to make her for my granddaughter, and I thought, okay, just don't let her read the stories.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
It's been fun.
That's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we somebody wants now, so she's a bikini. And then the latest thing I've designed for her, which will be out by the time I'm not telling tales out of school. Last thing I did for her was a sparkly bikini, and now I've just done a Chanel suit.
Oh wow!
For her, so it's
that's more fitting.
I'm stretching my muscles as a designer. I had not designed either of those things before for myself. Yeah.
See, so even people who are as accomplished as Mr. Habit here push themselves to the limit.
Oh, it's fun. It can hurt, but it's worth it.
It is worth it. It's fun. And you make mistakes, it's not a big deal. You start over. Mm-hmm. Like you said, you can rip it out. Absolutely. It's a common thread throughout this channel.
If you wreck the yarn, they make more of it. And then you have to really work to wreck most yarns, so yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
It's my number one wish is for a lot of knitters that I meet is just go try something different, If you've made 17 garter stitch short road amorphous shawlettes and you're starting to feel like you're losing your knitting mojo, go make something else. Try something you haven't tried before. Try something that scares you.
I knit slowly, compared to others. And one of the things that bothered me was I wasn't producing the products. But I'm much more of a process knitter than I'm a product knitter. So I don't care that I'm not finishing the project, but I still listen to that nagging voice in the back of my head, so I started making more kid stuff.
Okay.
And baby stuff.
That's a great idea.
Because it satisfies the need for the product, and I can get through it relatively
Absolutely.
quickly.
And there's always going to be somebody that wants the baby clothes.
I know
Always.
somebody. Yeah, somebody's always
Always.
pregnant.
Yeah, I've been dealing with a lot of baby showers all of a sudden. So that's when I always count backwards. And I live in Chicago. I count backwards and go, did we have a storm? Is that what happened?
Yeah, we had Harvey, which I mean,
Oh,
that'll go
yeah.
down in history. Yes, and it's been a couple of years since that. But yes, the babies that came out of that storm were outrageous. Lots of kids. The public school system is in.
And you've got to make little things for them. And baby clothes are fun because you can try something new, and yet you're not committing yourself to 8 months of working on a project. It's and actually, when I designed the Dolores doll, she was designed to be about the size of a very small newborn, specifically because I was like, okay, that's large enough that the garment has room in it for some fun detail.
Yeah.
But it's small enough that we're talking about like 1 and 2 skein projects. It's
Yeah.
like so you can move on to the next thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, that's very smart.
It's I never thought I would have an excuse to knit caftans and turbans, but now I have one.
Too funny. So thank you so much, Franklin, for coming.
It's a pleasure. I thank you for asking me. I'm very excited about the podcast, so I wish you every success with it.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And we're going to have Franklin's website at the bottom of this screen.
Thank you.
And be sure to check him out and follow him because he's very creative and there's lots to see.
Lots of weird stuff and lots of pictures of my dog. Lots and lots of pictures of my dog.
But we like your dog
a
lot.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you again.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. And we'll see you again soon. All right.
So I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Like I said, he's been a good friend for many years now, and I really can't wait for you to have more conversations with him. I plan on doing that, and I'll share that with you because he's always got something in the pipeline. As a matter of fact, when we had recorded this, as he told you, they were out of stock for the Dolores doll patterns, but I've checked Webb's website, and I'll put a link here that takes you directly there. I just checked, and they have over 50 of the patterns for that doll in stock. So you should be able to run right out and grab you one, and then you can make all the fun accessories. As a matter of fact, if you look here, you can see where the bathing suit that he was talking about that he designed for them, and then there's also the Chanel dress. So there's 2 of the 10 designs. You'll have to go to the Webb's website to see all the rest of them, but I hope you have a lot of fun making those because they look like a lot of fun to make. So I want to thank Franklin Habit for taking his time out of his very busy day to meet with me and share his story with you guys. As you'll recall, I like to bring you guys that are on the shelf. Well, as a matter of fact, Franklin Habit has been sitting on this shelf, and his book is It Itches. This is his book on Dolores, the sheep. It's a stash of knitting cartoons, collection of stuff, like you mentioned, from his blog. So It Itches is hilarious, and I invite you to get it because I think you can still get it from his website and or Amazon. But It Itches, tons of fun, lots of fun, and of course it's on the men's shelf because it's Franklin's. All right, so anyway, I wanted to again thank him and thank you. So this story of history is now complete, and we will move on to our next section, which is LYS.